Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. So today is Friday, so we do a little bit of Sugama. Shreyamsi Bahu Vignani. Looking at my classes, I am always reminded of this proverb in Sanskrit. For any good work, there are many, many, many obstacles. Each day it looks that today we may not have a class, but again ultimately with something or other we'll manage and come to have a little bit of class. Otherwise it would get cancelled. Anyway, we'll speak a little bit, half an hour. Something I wanted to finish Sugama, but somehow some obstacle is coming. This 11 to 12 is the most, at a period of obstacles, it looks that this is a period of plenty of obstacles. I don't know why this is the time suited for obstacles only. Okay, now let us go. 50th point we were discussing. Avidya na pramanagamya. So should I continue English or should I say a little bit in Kannada? I think there is nobody Kannada knowers. So I'll go and continue in English only. So Avidya, now how do we know the Adhyasa? So Adhyasa is there in our Anubhava, but it is not recognized as Adhyasa. See, Adhyasa is there in our Anubhava, but we don't know that it is an Adhyasa. See, this much alone Shastra points out. Shastra is required, no doubt, to help us to recognize that there is an Adhyasa. Not to show that there is an Adhyasa is there, but to come to identify it as Adhyasa. So, and another thing is, pramanas, we don't need pramanas to prove the Adhyasa, because Adhyasa is not pramana siddham. Shruti only points out. Okay, Shruti or Guru only points out an existing Anubhava. Therefore, now we were discussing that somebody like Vivarana said that Adhyasa is pramana siddha. He is making it as if you require pramanas to prove that there is avidya. But anyway, for them, it is not. For them, it is not Adhyasa is avidya. For them, there is something other than Adhyasa, a Mula Vidya. Therefore, they are. So for Adhyasa, anyway, we leave the Mula Vidya, we'll just stick to Adhyasa only. They say Adhyasa is proven by Pramanas. Even this way of telling is not right, that we have discussed, because there are no two Pramanas. One point we discussed, there are only one Pramana. There is no Pramana to examine the further Pramana. That point is over. Second point, Purvapakshi raised that it is like a weighing. You take, what you call that, weighing, two units of tola are different. Units of tola means weighing. That weighing unit is tula. We call it gold. We measure by tulas. 2 tula gold, 5 tula gold. So tula is a measurement. So there it is a different. That example doesn't suit here. 2 tulas are different. We take 1 tula and one weighing, what you call one unit of tula. With the help of it, we weigh another weight, another unit, and then it's okay, it works. But here, there is only one pramana. We don't have two pramanas, one to measure. Okay, even that argument is wrong. So pramana, here he quotes one Vartikakara shloka, Swamiji quotes, Pramananam pramanatvam naswarupa prameyata nacha manantaradishtam tayostulya swabhavataha. Okay, now the next thing, he says, pramanas the validity of pramana is not established by another pramana. That's what he says. The validity of pramana is not established by another pramana. This is what Sureshwaracharya says. Pramananam pramanatvam naswarupa prameyata. Nacha manantaradishtam tayostulya swabhavataha. From another pramana also you can't do, because both are same. So this argument is meaningless. So I mean, this we'll proceed with the next. Nanucha yatha pramana satyam anubhagantrubihi. Another argument of the Purvapakshi. 4 argument he makes. I think 3. This is the third argument. Pramana satyam. First thing is, they want to prove everything through pramana. This is the biggest mistake. Avidya cannot be proven and need not be proven, and it is not necessary. Avidya is something which exists even before you use pramanas. This is the basic thing, simpler thing, and no dispute, and nobody need to argue further on this thing. Avidya, ignorance, is something which is present in you before you use pramanas. This is about worldly knowledge. Worldly ignorance also, any worldly ignorance exists before you use pramanas. After you use pramana, the ignorance goes away. Ignorance of any worldly things. Okay, leave about the worldly ignorance. Come to the Atma ignorance. Even the Atma ignorance, ignorance Adhyasa. Adhyasa cannot be proven by pramanas, because the very pramana and pramatru, both are in the wake of Adhyasa. It is due to Adhyasa you find yourself to be pramatru, and pramatru is a pramatru when he uses pramanas. Therefore, pramatru, pramana using, both are in the Adhyasa, in the wake of Adhyasa. So, pramanas are used to know the prameya, not for knowing pramana. See 3. Pramanas can see only prameya. They can't know 4 things, I tell you. Pramanas cannot know the very pramanas. Pramanas cannot know one who is using pramana, pramatru. Pramanas cannot know the Adhyasa, because of which you find yourself to be pramatru. 3 things. Pramanas cannot know pramanas. Pramanas cannot know pramatrutvam. Pramanas cannot know Adhyasa, because of which you find yourself to be pramatru. Then pramanas cannot know Atma. Okay? There are 4 things which are beyond pramanas. I think this makes it clear. I think I should present it this way. So, first Atma is there. Atma is Swatasiddha. It is neither known through pramanas, it is not available, it cannot be objectified with any pramana, including Shastra pramana. Even Shastra pramana cannot objectify. Atma is a Swatasiddham, so no pramana works there. Second is Adhyasa. Adhyasa we told Swabhavikam and Anadi, and in the wake of Adhyasa alone you find Pramatrutvam and Pramanas. So how can you use the Pramana to prove the Adhyasa and even Pramatrutvam? So this doesn't work. Pramanagalannu ಬಳಸಿ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳನ್ನೇ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರಮಾತೃವನ್ನು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಅಧ್ಯಾಸವನ್ನು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಗಾಗುತ್ತದೆ? ಅದರಿಂದ ಹೊಂದಲ್ಲ. So here he says, Purvapakshi raises one argument, nanu cha yatha pramana sattam anabhyupagantrubhirapi vedantibhihi madhyamikairva tadastitva nastitva anusaranodasinaireva pramanaapekshini katha tadastitva abhyupagantrubhir vaadyantarais saha pravartyate evameva ihapi bhagavata adhyasa puratvaratva tadabhavanusarena udasinena iva pratamam pramana nyadiyante ತತಶ್ಚ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಾನಿ ಪರೀಕ್ಷ ತತ್ ಪುರಸ್ಸರತ್ವಂ ಸ್ಥಾಪ್ಯತೆ ತತ್ರ ಕೋ ದೋಷಃ. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಕುತರ್ಕ, ವ್ಯರ್ಥ ತರ್ಕ. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಯೋಚನೆ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಮಾಡುವ ತರ್ಕಗಳು, ವ್ಯರ್ಥ. ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಫೂಲಿಶ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್. ಬಟ್ ಎನಿವೆ, argument is an argument. When somebody puts forth an argument, we have to reply. Reply in the sense we have to show the fallacy in the argument. Now he said, just listen to it. It looks very silly, but listen. Vedantins accept that there are pramanas. Okay. Vedantins who accept pramanas are Madhyamika Irva. Madhyamika, who are Madhyamikas? Buddhas. And the Buddhists, just as the, I think here I have already done my translation, I'll read out. Just as the Vedantins who do not accept the 4950. Existence of pramanas. Vedant, he says, the Purvapakshi says, Vedantins don't accept the pramanas, the reality of the pramanas, are the Madhyamika Buddhists, Shunyavadis. They who are neutral about the existence or non-existence of pramanas. Are pramanas real? Vedantins say pramanas work within avidya. Only to reveal the prameya alone. Okay. Then Buddhists say they don't accept any pramanas. They say all pramanas are false. This is a very peculiar thing of Buddhists. We don't go into detail. We just see what is relevant. Buddhists who are neutral about the existence or non-existence of pramanas. Regarding the pramanas, Buddhists, they are not particular about whether pramanas are there or not. Whether pramanas are there or not, they are just neutral. Okay? Udasinaihi, Swamiji says. Pramana apekshani katha. Yet, see, Buddhists, though they are not particular about pramanas, regarding Vedantins also, say that to know the Paramarthika Satta, pramanas are useless. Even to know the Avidya, pramanas are useless. Yet, when we are arguing, we are using pramanas. See, yet we are arguing pramana. So, pramanapekshini katha. Here the word katha means a debate requiring pramanas. Any debate requires pramanas. See, this is interesting point. Any debate requires pramanas. Without pramanas, you can't debate. Okay. So, pramanapekshini katha tadastitva abhyupagantrubhir vadyantarais saha pravatyate. Others accept pramanas as real. So whether Vedantins or Buddhists engage in a debate with those who accept pramanas as real. Okay. Vedantigalu, Pramanaгаlu, ಪಾರಮಾರ್ಥಿಕ ಸತ್ತ ಎಂದು ಸತ್ಯವಾಗಿವೆ ಎಂದೊಪ್ಪಲ್ಲ. ವ್ಯಾವಹಾರಿಕವೇ ಹೊರತು ಪಾರಮಾರ್ಥಿಕವಲ್ಲ. ಈಗ ಬೌದ್ಧರೇನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳು ಇವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಎನ್ನುವ ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ ತಟಸ್ಥವಾಗಿರುತ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದೇ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳಿದ್ದರೆ ಇರಲಿ, ಇಲ್ಲದಿದ್ದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಎರಡೂ ಒಪ್ಪಲ್ಲ. ಎರಡೂ ಏನು ಆಗ್ರಹ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನು ತಟಸ್ಥವಾಗಿರುತ್ತಾರೆ. ಇಂಥವರು ವೇದಾಂತಿಗಳಾಗಲಿ ಬೌದ್ಧ ಶೂನ್ಯವಾದಿಗಳಾಗಲಿ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳಿವೆ ಎಂದು ಒಪ್ಪುಕೊಂಡುವ ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳಿವೆ ಎಂದು ಯಾರು ಒಪ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ? ನೈಯಾಯಿಕ ವೈಶೇಷಿಕರು. ವೈಶೇಷಿಕ ನೈಯಾಯಿಕರಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳು ಸತ್ಯ. ವೇದಾಂತಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳು ವ್ಯಾವಹಾರಿಕವೇ ಹೊರತು ಪಾರಮಾರ್ಥಿಕ ಸತ್ಯ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಬೌದ್ಧರಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳು ಇವೆ ಎಂದು ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಎಂದು ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ, ಎರಡು ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ ತಟಸ್ಥವಾಗಿರುತ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ವೇದಾಂತಿಗಳು ಬೌದ್ಧರು ಹೇಗೆ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳು ಇವೆ ಎಂದು ಹೇಳುವ ನೈಯಾಯಿಕರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೋ, ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಆ್ಯಸ್ ವೇದಾಂತಿನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಬುದ್ಧಿಸ್ಟ್ಸ್ engage in a debate with those who believe pramanas to be real. Okay. Then what happens? How do they engage? Prathamam pramananyadiyante. First they tentatively accept pramanas. Tatascha pramanani pariksha tat purassaratvam stapyate. Tatascha pramanani. first they accept pramanas so uses pramana. Similarly, Shankaracharya also uses. Similarly, Shankaracharya also tentatively accepts pramanas. First uses pramanas while himself being neutral to their presupposition of superimposition or not. He says, see, first he tentatively accepts pramanas before proving whether pramanas are due to avidya or not. He takes tentatively pramanas and then examines the pramanas to prove them as presupposing adhyasa. See, first he accepts pramanas and uses the same pramanas to prove that they presuppose adhyasa. This is again round and round. What is wrong in this? ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ತಪ್ಪಿದೆ ಎಂದು he is asking. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ ಉತ್ತರ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ನೋಡಿ. ಮೊದಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನೆಲ್ಲ ಪಾಂಡಿತ್ಯ ವಿಷಯ, ಅನುಭವಕ್ಕೆ ಸಮ್ಮತವಿಲ್ಲ. Okay, nedanimapah ghatate, this also doesn't work. Even this is not right. Because yasmat pramatra pramanani prameya parichittaye samadhiyante natu atmanam pramatumiti sthiti. Simple thing, whether you accept pramanas or not is not the point. ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳನ್ನು ಒಪ್ಪುಕೊಳ್ತೀವಾ ಅಲ್ಲವಾ ಎಂದು ವಿಷಯವಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಪಕ್ಕಕ್ಕಿಡಿ. ಪೂರ್ವಪಕ್ಷಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದ, ನೀವು ಪ್ರಮಾಣವನ್ನು ಒಪ್ಪುತ್ತೀರಾ ಅಲ್ಲವಾ, ಇಲ್ಲದಿದ್ದರೂ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳನ್ನು ಬಳಸಬಹುದಲ್ಲ, ಬಳಸಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಬಹುದು. ವೆದರ್ ಯು ಆಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ದ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಾಸ್ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್, ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಾಸ್ ಟು ಪ್ರೂವ್ ದಿಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್. ಹಿಯರ್ ದ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆದರ್ ಯು ಆಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ is not the point. The very nature of pramana is such that they can't reveal pramatrutvam, adhyasa and atma. 4 points I have already stated. These 4 cannot be known by pramanas. Okay. Pramanas can't reveal the very pramana, pramatrutvam, adhyasa and also atma, swatasiddha atma. That means pramanas are not required and pramanas don't work. ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡುವುದಿಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳಿಗೆ ವಿಷಯವೇ ಆಗುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಾಸ್ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಆಪರೇಟ್ ಹಿಯರ್. ಈ 4 ವಿಷಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಗಳನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಯುವಾಗ ಪ್ರಮಾತೃತ್ವ, ಅಧ್ಯಾಸ, ಆತ್ಮ. ಸೊ ಹಿ ಸೇಸ್ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಾಸ್ ಆರ್ ಯೂಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ನೋಯಿಂಗ್ ದ ಪ್ರಮೇಯ. ಓಕೆ, ಪ್ರಮಾಣಾಸ್ ಆರ್ ಯೂಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಟು ನೋ ದ ಪ್ರಮೇಯ. ಪ್ರಮಾತ್ರ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಾನಿ ಪ್ರಮೇಯ ಪರಿಚ್ಛಿತ್ತಯೇ ಸಮುಪಾದಿ. ದಟ್ ಟು ಪ್ರಮಾತ ಯೂಸಸ್ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಾಸ್ ಟು ನೋ ದ ಪ್ರಮೇಯ. ಬಟ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ದ ಪ್ರಮಾಣ ಟು ನೋ ದ ವೆರಿ ಪ್ರಮಾತೃ. ಪ್ರಮಾತೃ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ದೇರ್. ಸೊ ನತು ಆತ್ಮಾನಂ ಪ್ರಮಾತುಮಿತಿ ಸ್ಥಿತಿ, ನಾಟ್ ಟು ನೋ ದ ಆತ್ಮ. ದೇರ್ ಫೋರ್ ತಥಾ ಚ ಯುಕ್ತಂ ತತ್ರ ಕಥಕಾಃ. ಪ್ರಮೇಯ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಣಾಯ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಾನಿ ಉಪಾದದತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಕಥಕಾಃ ಪ್ರಮೇಯ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಣಾಯ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಾನಿ ಉಪಾದದತೆ ಇತಿ. ಇಹ ಪುನಃ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಾನಾಂ ದೇರ್ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಾಸ್ ಆರ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್ ಟು ನೋ ದ ಪ್ರಮೇಯ, ಬಟ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಟೋಟಲಿ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಅಧ್ಯಾಸ. ಇಹ ಪುನಃ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಾನಾಂ ಅವಿದ್ಯಾ ಪುರಸ್ಸರತ್ವಂ ಸಾಧನೀಯಂ. ಹಿಯರ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಲರ್ನ್ ಹೌ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಾಸ್ ಆರ್ ಡ್ಯೂ ಟು ಅವಿದ್ಯಾ. ದಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಮಾಣಾಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ ಅಧ್ಯಾಸ. Due to adhyasa means within adhyasa. Pramanas are exist within adhyasa. Without adhyasa there are no pramanas. Okay? Like in deep sleep there are no pramana. There is no adhyasa and there are no pramanas. In the waking state there is adhyasa and there is pramana. In dream state there is adhyasa and there is pramana. It's very clear. Therefore, tatvam taccha na sakshat kintu pramatrutva ghatakibhuta avidya nirupana dvareti vaishamyam. Here we are there pramata is using the pramanas there, but here You have to prove the very Pramatrutvam. Nahi kaschit pramata swatmana. Through Pramatrutvam alone, you can prove the Pramanas. Through Pramatrutvam alone. But the Pramatrutvam, Pramanas, both of them are found in Adhyasa. Pramata swatmanameva prameyam parikalpya swaparichedaya pramanani samupadatte iti ghatamanam. Pramata uses pramana to know the prameya. It is like I use my eyes to see the color. I can't use the eyes to know myself, the very seer, which is open and simple fact. We don't need so much of big argument for this, isn't it? We can't use the eyes, because eyes are not useful, to know the one who uses the very eyes. Because it is a contradiction. When I am using the eyes, I am already there as a pramata. And then when I am already existing, who is using the eyes, that is a pramatru, then how can the pramanas, that is eyes, can prove the very pramatru? It is pramanas are useless, unnecessary there. Ataha nayamapi pantha tasmad arthapatyadi pramanaira vidya sadbhava sadhyate iti nasarava. It is summane. It is just a scholarly argument. It doesn't pertain to anubhava. Kimartham tarhi pramatrutva anupapattyudaharanam. Pashwadi vivahara upanyasa. The last, coming to the main point. Therefore, Purapakshi, after raising several arguments, now he comes to the point. Then why Bhashyakara raises pramatrutva anupapatti? If pramatrutva were not there, pramanas could not function. Why did he raise that? Not to prove, he is not using pramanas there. Here you see, atra achyate natra pramanopannyasaha prakrutaha. This is the main answer. Here, Acharya Shankara is not presenting pramanas. Okay? Pramanopannyasaha na prakrutaha. He is not presenting pramanas. To prove the pramatrutvam, to prove the adhyasa, he is not presenting, because the very use of pramanas presupposes adhyasa. With only adhyasta pramatrutvam is an adhyasta. Only as a adhyasta pramatru, you are using pramanas. That means as you are started using pramanas, you are already there pramatru as an adhyasta. Therefore, pramanas cannot be used to prove the presence of pramatrutvam and say that how pramatrutvam is adhyasa. To prove the pramatrutvam and also that pramatrutvam is adhyasta. Pramatrutvam is adhyasta is directly there in our anubhava. Shruti is only pointing out. It just points out. Bhashyakara is pointing out. Therefore, natra pramanopanyasaha prakrutaha kintu avidya sadbhava pradarshanam. This is a beautiful thing. Here, the arguments in Adhyasa Bhashya look as if he is using pramana to show that pramatrutvam is due to Adhyasa. That pramatrutvam is due to Adhyasa. It looks that he is using pramanas to prove this pramatrutvam is due to Adhyasa. Due to Adhyasa means Adhyasta, whatever. Pramatrutvam is Adhyasa, that's all. Pramatrutvam is Adhyasa. He is not trying to prove this through pramanas, though the language looks like pramanas. He is simply pointing out, okay? Simply pointing out. Tatha hi grantharambe viruddha svabhavayor atmanatmanoh paraspara tadatma adhyasaha paraspara tadharma adhyasascha mithyeti bhavitum yuktam ityashankya. See, he is simply pointing out. Adhyasa is not there. Purapakshi raises an argument, Adhyasa is not there. He says, yet, why not there? Because logically it's not possible. He says, you don't go for logic, just to look at your anubhava, it is there. Logical tenability, untenability is not the question. It is directly you happen to find yourself in Adhyasa. That's all. That I am in that the very Pramatrutvam is due to Adhyasa is a matter of direct experience. It's only pointing out. Tathapi ahamidam mamedam iti naisargikoyam loka vyavaharaha iti anubhavaika siddhatvam adhyasasya. That very anubhava, in the anubhava you find Adhyasa. That's all. In the anubhava, we are only comparing two anubhavas. In Sushupti, you have no Adhyasa and you have no Pramana. In waking, you find yourself to be taking body, mind and sense organs as yourself. You find yourself to be an individual, using the sense organs and mind to know the external world. You happen to be an individual in the waking. In deep sleep, you are not an individual, you are not a subject, therefore you are not knowing the object. In waking state, you happen to be subject knowing the object. Two experiences is simply pointing out. There is no logic, there is no analysis, and nothing here. No pramana. That in deep sleep, you have no pramatrutvam. Therefore, you are not pramatru. Oh, you are not, I don't know, there is a internet disturbance. Oh, yeah, internet is working. I don't know. Yeah, it's come back. So, because it's very important, therefore I waited. So, in Sushupti, you are not a subject. That means to be subject, to be pramatru, to be an individual, you have to be in identification with body, mind and sense organs. Or mind and sense organs. Body is there anyway, mind and sense organs. If you say, body is included anyway. So, when you are in identification with mind and sense organs, you find yourself as a pramatru or individual or subject. That is your waking experience. In deep sleep, you have no identification. So, you are not pramatru and there is no pramana vyavahara. See, here he says, your waking is a state of your adhyasa. This is what he is simply showing. So, here, iti anubhavaika siddhatvam adhyasasya tatprukta vyavaharasya cha pratignatam. First he told adhyasa is there and all other vyavahara is due to adhyasa. Adhyasam puraskritya naisargikoyam loka vyavaharaha. He is just made a pratigna. Next, tasya eva pratignayaha vistaraha. Prapanchaha is prapancha. The pratigna means a brief statement. The same thing little more elaborately point out. All are pointing out alone. What is the detail pointing out? Prapanchaha tadarthamevacha adhyasa lakshanam pranitam. Adhyasa lakshana is told. Okay, adhyasa lakshana is a definition of adhyasa. Then avishayepi, next he says, the Purvapakshi asked there, but adhyasa is not possible in avishaya. The object of adhyasa should be evident, should be object. Without the thing being an object, no adhyasa is possible. How can you mistake unless you know it? He says, for this the reply was given, avishaye api adhyasa is possible. Avishaya means in a non-object. Non-object also can be mistaken because all the detail we discussed it. So I just say in one sentence. In the avishaya, non-object atma becomes an object during adhyasa. Because adhyasa itself is objectification of a non-object. Non-object atma is taken to be object, that itself is adhyasa. Anyway, so avishayepya ataha pratignatasya vivaranam. What is pratigna? The same thing is explained detail. Sarvopi pramana prameya vyavaharaha avidya purassara yeveti anubhavaha pradarshate. Here, he is only pointing out your anubhava. That all your pramanas you are able to use only as a pramata. Pramana prameya vyavaharo avidya purassara yevaiti anubhavaha pradarshate. Prakurtat iti nadikam kinchitu. is not using pramana to prove the pramatrutvam, is pointing out the anubhava. Iti prakrtartha prapancha evayam nadhikam kinchit tatra pramatrutva vichara bhashya granthasya ayamashayah. This is the idea. Pramatrutvamevahi. Then next comes the pramatrutva. If pramatrutvam were not there, there would not be pramana vyavahara. This also you are not trying to prove, because both are in your anubhava only. You are pramatrutvam, pramana vyavahara, both are your anubhava. Already it is there in anubhava. Pramatrutvam eva tavad dehe. It is like we are not bringing into your anubhava which did not exist in your anubhava. You are only demarcating the problem, that's all. Demarcating the problem. Problem is known to you, but we are pinpointing the problem, that's all. So tatascha pramana prameya tavad dehen pramatruttvameva tavad dehendriyeshu aham mama abhimana lakshanadhyasa vyaptamiti suprasiddhametat. Pramatrutvam, you are a pramatru only when you identify, only when you are in the identified state of sense, when you identify with your sense organs and mind. In that condition, that is in waking. In waking, you find yourself to be pramatru. Tatascha, then in the waking alone, you use pramanas. In fact, these should not be taken as events. See, using pramanas and becoming pramatru and adhyasa, they are not two gradual events. All these three is one anubhava. You cannot split them into steps, because they don't happen in sequence one after the other. That there is an adhyasa, and you, as a result of adhyasa, you are pramatru. As a result of pramatru, you are using pramana. They are not three steps. They are not three steps gradually occurring. All these three is one anubhava. In anubhava, it is one, isn't it? Adhyasa, pramatrutvam, and using pramata, using pramanas to know the prameya. All these three are one anubhava. For sake of explanation, we divide them into three steps, but in anubhava, they are not three occurrences, three events, happening one after the other. First thing is, adhyasa is not an occurrence at all. Adhyasa is not an event at all. Adhyasa is not happening in time. Nobody has seen, nobody can see. Adhyasa is not an event occurring. We told it is a swabhavika anadi. We already discussed elaborately for days together. Adhyasa is swabhavika and anadi. Okay. Anadi swabhavika means what? You find yourself in it. That's all. You find yourself in it right now. It is only pointing out an anubhava of adhyasa. Adhyasta condition is pointing out. How adhyasa happens, which nobody can prove, and it is not an event at all. It is not an act. It is not an event that occurs in time. Therefore, adhyasa is not an event. Pramatrutvam is not a next event. Nor using pramanas is another event. You only say you have an anubhava of waking state. You have an anubhava of waking state in which you find there is adhyasa. And in that adhyasa, you find yourself to be pramatru. And as a pramatru, you are using pramana. All these three is one anubhava. Isn't it? Just an anubhava. And you find yourself in such condition when you are in waking state. When you look at yourself, you find in that state. This, it is bringing to your attention and it asking you to watch it. Okay. Therefore, it is Bhashyakara is drawing your attention to this experience of you. He is not using pramanas to prove the pramatrutvam and then adhyasa. Adhyasa and pramatrutvam neither available to pramanas nor they need to be proven. If you can prove them through pramana, they become satyam. Note it. If you can prove them to pramana, they become satyam. But adhyasa is adhyasa because of adhyasa only. Adhyasa is an adhyasa from the standpoint of adhyasa. It is not proven by any pramanas. You find yourself in the anubhava of it, that's all. This is a swabhavika anubhava, not a pramana siddha anubhava, nor swata siddha anubhava. See, Adhyasa is neither pramana siddha nor swatah siddha. It is swabhava siddha. Note, it is in between. Adhyasa athava avidya. Adhyasa is avidya. What else? Adhyasa is avidya. It is neither pramana siddha nor swatah siddha like Brahman, nor pramana siddha like other worldly objects. It is swabhavika, naisargikaha. Bhashyakara says, naisargikaha, anadi anantaha, sarvaloka pratyakshaha. Sarvaloka pratyaksha is natural anubhava. Sarvaloka pratyaksha doesn't mean sense pratyaksha, manasa pratyaksha. It is sakshi pratyaksha, therefore it is a sarvaloka anubhava sakshi pratyaksha. Adhyasa is sakshi pratyaksha. You don't need again further pramana. So it is a swabhavikam. Therefore, pramatruttvameva tavad dehendriyeshu abhimana lakshana adhyasa vyaptam iti suprasiddham. Therefore, adhyasa, pramatrutvam, pramana. They are not three. You cannot see them separately. They are just one anubhava. In explanation, we are putting them as a three steps, as a three elements. Anubhava is one, just one anubhava. Okay. Adhyasa vyaptatvam, adhyasa vyapta pramatrutva pratibaddatvat pramana vyasi. Bah, Swamiji's amazing thinking. Bah, Swamiji's manana is superb and unparalleled. What I have told so far is already explained here. You see, adhyasa vyapta pramatrutva pratipaddatvat pramana pravritti. This is the clinched. So the pramana vyapara is in pramatrutvam. Pramatrutvam is adhyasta. So adhyasa, pramatrutvam, pramana pravritti. All three we are talking as three, but anubhava is one. This is what. So therefore, this one anubhava he is pointing out. That's all. Therefore, don't bring pramanas to prove avidya. Though Vivaranakara says that, but that doesn't stand to anubhava. Okay. Therefore, that Vivaranakaras is not right. We leave them. Now the next point. Then why bringing the Pashvadi Avisheshat? He says, Pashvadi, just as in case of Pashu, they use pramana without knowing the Atma. They don't know the Atma is very clean. Everybody knows that they don't know the Atma. And therefore, they use pramanas. So there also pramanas are used due to avidya is clean. That means even animals without having Atmajnanam are found to be using pramanas. This shows that pramanas are within avidya, within adhyasa, are due to adhyasa. That's what he says. Now, Pashvadi Vyavahara Bhashyascha Ayam Abhisandhihi. This is the purpose, this is the intention of Bhashyakara referring to Pashvadi Vyavahara. Vyavahara, the behavior of animals in using pramanas. Animals use pramanas like cows, dogs use pramanas. Purushanam pravritti nivrittir vyavahara kartrutva bhoktrat adhyasa purvaka. See, he is not using, here you should not think that he is not using animals' behavior as a linga and manushya behavior as a sadhya. Don't make it anumana pramana. Animals' behavior is a linga. Animals' behavior is due to pramana, due to adhyasa. Animals using pramanas due to adhyasa. Therefore, our using pramana is also due to adhyasa. He is not using anumana pramana to prove indirectly, because anumana pramana uses indirectly, gives a paroksha jnanam. He is not using he is not proving pramatrutvam through anumana pramana. Pramatrutvam is my anubhava. Why do we need to prove pramatrutvam through anumana pramana? It is something like, this is well-known example, you all know. Am I speaking or not? How do I know? That I have an audience here. In the cell phone, I see people's name here. Those who are friends, their names are visible here. Since they are listening, therefore I am speaking. Because a speaker cannot speak without sometimes in cell phones, without anybody also we speak. Without anybody, we just speak, record and leave it here, and later they open and listen. Anyway, later also they will see at least some shrota is there. So, since there is a shrota listening, therefore I am speaking. I am speaking is a direct my experience. Why do we need to prove my Vaktrutvam through Anumana based upon the Linga of the Shrotrutvam. This is meaningless, this is unnecessary, and it is a superfluous because it is only an Anuvada, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any extra because it is Anubhava Siddham. That I am a speaker is Anubhava Siddham. Similarly here, Pashvadibhischa Vyavahara is only showing the similarity, not proving by Anumana Pramana. Okay? Just a similarity, another event. Pashu Vyavaha, Purusha Pravrutti Nivrutti Rupa Vyavahara. We are Pramatru, as a Pramatru alone we are using Pramanas, not as a Sakshi. Not as a Sakshi Bhuta Chaitanyam, as a Chaitanya Atma. Purvapakshi tries to say that it is the Chaitanya Atma that is using Pramanas. We only say that as a Chaitanya Atma, as a Sakshi, you don't use Pramanas. To be able to use Pramana, you have to be Pramatru. And Pramatrutvam is not your real nature. See, Pramatrutvam is not the nature of Sakshitvam. Pramatrutvam is due to Adhyasa. In that Adhyasa, you are using Pramana. That means you are a Pramatru and using Pramanas within Adhyasa alone. That means as a Sakshi, you are not Pramatru. You are not Pramatru as a Sakshi and you are not using Pramanas. See, you are Pramatrutvam and using Pramana and seeing the Prameya, not as a Sakshi, but as a somebody who is imposed, who is taken to be Pramatrutvam. See, this is the point he is trying to point out. As a Sakshi who is Anadhyasta, who is free from Adhyasa, means who is not identified with the sense organs and mind. Sakshi is the one who is not identified with mind and sense organs. Sakshi is the one, is a pure consciousness, not in identification with. In the Sakshi, do you find is there mind? In the Sakshi, there is no mind. In the Sakshi, there is no sense organ. The nature of the Sakshi is consciousness. That consciousness is not due to mind. That consciousness is not due to sense organs. It is consciousness independent of the mind and sense organs. Therefore, that consciousness is not using the mind and manovrutti and sense organs to know the external objects. Because consciousness, Sakshi to be consciousness, it doesn't need sense organs and mind. Sakshi to be conscious, Sakshi alone is enough. Sakshi is by nature consciousness. Why does he need mind and sense organs? But Pramatrutvam needs Pramana. Pramatrutvam is a vritti. Because to be Pramatru, you are already, once you say, I am a knower, I am a subject, I am a Pramatru. Because subject is a relative subject we are talking. Subject means related to object. So as a Pramatru, you are already in identification with mind and sense organs. So when you find yourself, you see, when do you find yourself in Pramatrutvam? I find myself in a Pramatrutvam in waking state. Then at that time, mind and sense organs are already part of you. You are already in a state of identification with mind and sense organs. When you are in a state of identification with mind and sense organs, you are Pramatru. And in that mind and sense organs alone, you are using Pramanas. Okay, that means as a Pramatru alone, you use Pramanas. As a Sakshi, you don't use Pramanas. Therefore, and Pashvadi Vyavahara is only to show an additional thing because it is similar to you. Just as you as a Pramatru alone using Pramanas, animals are also ignorant in using Pramana. He is not using Anumana Pramana to prove your Pramatrutvam. See, he is not showing the animal's behavior to prove our Pramatrutvam by Anumana Pramana. Anumana is not required, just showing a similarity, that's all. And that I am a Pramatru is my Anubhava Siddha. My Anubhava is only comparing with another animal's Anubhava just to make it clear. The demarcation is clear. So, Kartrutva Bhoktrutva Adhyasa Purvaka Eva Drishyate in our Anubhava Avivekatvena Sampratipanna Pashvadi Vyavaharavat. Because pranis, animals are ignorant. That means animals don't know that they are the pure consciousness beyond all animal body and all that. They take it because animals are too strongly identify with their animalism. Animalism means animalness, their individuality. Animals have a strong individuality. Okay, because you hit them, they are aware, they run away. So that identification with the body is very clear in the animals. At least in human beings, you can be beyond your body and sense organs. That means, or in other words, we can say, a jnani can be found in human body. A jnani is not found in, but that also example doesn't work. Anyway, it's a common man's example. So, in the animals, assuming that animals are have adhyasa, therefore they are using pramanas. Similarly, we are using that solid just to show the similarity. Tasya vyavahara samaya anupayogat yattu vyutpanna chittattvam purushanam. Okay, but the intelligent people also do it. That doesn't prove anything, because the intelligent people also, highly educated, cultured, intelligent people also, during vyavahara, assume pramatrutvam and do vyavahara. Assume pramatrutvam and do vyavahara, because without pramatrutvam, no vyavahara, like in deep sleep. I think we don't need pashvavi vyavahara, sushupti would have been enough. Sushupti is the best example. So, Pashu Vyavahara is similar to Sushupti. We can take Sushupti itself, Anubhava. In Sushupti, you have no Pramatrutvam, no Pramana Vyavahara. In waking, you have Pramatrutvam, you have Vyavahara. That's all, this is enough. It's so clear. Yattu Vyutpanna Chittatvam Purushanam Tasya Vyavahara Samaye Anupayogat Anubhutasya Adhyasa Purvakatvasya Natadapavada Karamiti. Therefore, what is your Anubhava Siddha? You don't need to prove with pramanas, nor you can disprove with pramanas. The very pramanas come in the wake of pramatrutvam. Okay. Shastra udaharana bhashyasya punaridamakutam. Okay. I think we'll stop with this thing. So one small passage is there that we'll tell in the next class, and we'll proceed with the next thing. Now Adhyasa prakaras. Okay. He is showing there are many forms of Adhyasa. Many forms of Adhyasa he is going to say, that we'll see in the next class. So, Shastroda, even the Shastriya Vyavahara also within Adhyasa. Why he is referring to Shastriya Vyavahara? Because the Paraloka, Punarjanma, all Jivahood is within Adhyasa. Paraloka Punarjanma is also within Adhyasa. Therefore, Shastriya Vyavahara, even Vedanta Vyavahara. Even as a Vedantin doing Atma Vichara also within Avidya, within Adhyasa alone. All that he shows, because Adhyastha alone can do. Atma by itself is neither bandha nor moksha. Because moksha vyavahara, that means your vichara, jignasutvam, sadhana, going to shravana, manana, nididhyasana, all this is within Adhyasa. That shows that Atma is never Adhyastha. Atma by its nature neither has bandha nor it needs moksha. Even the bandha moksha vyavahara is also within Adhyasa. This he is going to say. This point we have to say, time is already past 12. So, we'll stop with this thing. This one point we'll discuss in the next class and proceed with the forms of Adhyasa. Okay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Tat Sat.